There. Good. Welcome to our Wild Things show. My name is Sarah. Shirley will be meeting Callie. We're also going to be assisted by our wonderful intern Taryn over there. So she's going to be hanging out with us too. And we are going to be taking you guys on a trip around the world, introducing you to a lot of different types of animals and telling you all about them and their environments. And of course, some easy things you guys can do right at home to help out those animals and the environment as well. Now, before we get started with our show, though, I do have a favor to ask of everyone. This is an up-close animal encounter type show, so we will be utilizing that front space. We're also going to be walking up and down the stairs right there with an animal, and some of them might be flying over your heads. So for us to be able to do that safely for you and the animal, that's why we do ask that while they are out here, please stay seated. Now, if you do need to move around or exit during the show, we totally understand. We just ask you to wait until the animals have exited themselves and they're behind the scenes. Then you're more than welcome to move around. Sound good? Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and start our journey in a small little country called Bolivia. And this Bolivian area is really well known for a rainforest environment. So we're going to meet an animal that's commonly thought of when you think of a rainforest animal. It's small. It's also very brightly colored, extremely loud. Any guesses? A parrot. There we go. So we're going to introduce you guys to Mott, who is a red-fronted macaw. He's flying on in. Here he is. Now this is a red-fronted macaw, one of the smaller species of macaws out in the world, but he's not a baby. He's a full-grown male, just a smaller version. Now all parrots have a very important role to play in their rainforest environment. They are what we call a seed disperser. So basically what that means is while they are out in the wild, they eat a lot of fruit. They'll swallow the seed of the fruit. The seed will travel through the bird's body and come out the other end intact. Now they usually use the restroom about every 20 minutes. They also tend to use the restroom while they're flying around. So heads up, don't look up with your mouth open, you might get a little present. Now when they do that out in the wild, they disperse that seed usually away from the mother tree, so that tree has a really good chance to grow, and it's a really good way for this animal to replenish its rainforest habitat. So it's providing other food sources for other rainforest animals as well. Now, unfortunately, a lot of species of macaw are highly endangered, including this one. There's only about 350 to 400 of these little guys left. That is unfortunately due to their habitat being cut down to allow room for agriculture. So we can help out by making really easy, eco-friendly decisions at the grocery store. For example, when you guys buy bananas, who likes bananas? Everybody. When you buy bananas, there's usually a sticker on that banana that says what country it came from. It'll say things like Costa Rica, Ecuador, or even Bolivia. Thank you, very nice, not on my shoe, good job. Instead of buying those bananas that come from Central and South America, where the red-fronted macaw lives, you can instead buy bananas that are grown right here in the state of Florida. They're a little bit smaller, but they taste a little bit better as well. That way we're supporting our local farms, and we're also discouraging agriculture to take place in that special habitat. Well, I've introduced you guys to a small species of macaw. How would you guys like to meet the largest species? Yeah, okay, so he's going to be actually climbing on out here because he's not a flyer, but he likes to show off that parrots have another really awesome ability, and that's the ability to climb. So his name is Paris, and Paris is called a Hyacinth macaw. He's going to be making his way out shortly. There he is! Good job, Paris! You guys can give him a round of applause. Finally, thank you, sir, for joining us. Good job. Positive reinforcement. Okay, so this is our Hyacinth macaw parrot, and he's going to be showing off what an excellent climber a parrot can be, as well as the flyer that you guys saw. And we're going to make a mess up there, too. Now, Hyacinth macaws and all parrots have this really unique ability for climbing because they have a lot of really unique adaptations on their body. They have some really weird feet. They are called zygodactyl. Now that's just a fancy word that means two toes that face forward and two toes that face backwards. And those toes are really helpful for helping them climb. And usually this is the time of the show where Paris shows off that he's an excellent climber by climbing down the vine. There we go. Alright, so there we go. We can see those feet in action. You also see him using his beak to help him climb. That beak is extremely powerful. In fact, he can hang his entire body weight by his mouth. That seems really impressive to dangle your entire body weight by your face until you find out how much Paris truly weighs. So who would like to take a guess? How many pounds do you guys think this bird is? 10. How many? 20? Any other guesses? What do you think? 10? 6? The other one? No? 9? 15? 1? Okay, we have a lot of different options. Well, believe it or not, the largest species of macaw, he weighs a whopping 3 pounds. That is it. So about the size of a basketball, so not very heavy at all. And that's of course because they have hollow bones, and they need those hollow bones to fly around. Now, like I mentioned with that red-fronted macaw, these birds are also highly endangered, but it's due to a little bit different reason. These birds are native to Brazil. Brazil is really common producer of the cocoa bean. Does anybody here like chocolate? Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. So we're actually going to ask you guys to stop eating chocolate from now on and forever because it's really bad for the environment. Totally just. We never ask you to stop eating chocolate ever again. I would die. But we can make eco-friendly decisions when we're buying chocolate. For example, the company Dove, their cocoa bean is actually Rainforest Alliance certified, which means it's sustainably grown and harvested. It does not harm the environment, no pesticides were used. They do not clear cut the environment, so there's still plenty of trees and rainforest environment for all different types of rainforest animals to survive. So it's something really easy you guys can do right at home. All right, how about we give a round of applause to Paris, our Hyacinth. We're going to be traveling all the way over to the great state of Florida for our next guest. We are going to be introducing you guys to an animal that's pretty common. If you've been hanging out in our state for probably a few hours, you've most likely seen this big reptile hanging out on the side of a bank basking. Any guesses? An alligator. And we're going to have Karen tell you all about them. All right, another big round of applause for Sarah and our Hyacinth macaw, Paris. I'll let you guys come on in, have a seat, make yourselves at home, comfortable. So the next animal we are about to bring out does come from the state of Florida, and it is our state reptile. And as you guys said, it's the what? Alligator. Let's try it again. It's the what? Alligator. Yes. All right. So I hope you guys are ready to meet Cypress, our American alligator. Oh goodness. Here we are. Here he is. This is Cypress. Now he is a juvenile American alligator. He is about 8 years old, but in his lifetime he could grow to be over 10 feet long, weigh over 500 pounds, and live for over 50 years. That can seem a little intimidating, but these guys are really important. They're what's called a keystone species. So what that means is that other animals depend on the alligator for their survival. What the alligator does that's so important is that it lays down in the mud, rocks its body back and forth, and creates a depression. The depression fills with water, becomes a water source for other animals. And that is really important, especially during the dry season. So alligators help other animals survive. Now, if the alligator were to disappear, so would those gator wallows, and so would the animals that depend on it for their survival. In fact, that almost happened. In the 1950s and 60s, alligators were really popular for boots and bags and belts. And they were hunted to near extinction. But they came under protection in the 1980s, and they are doing quite well today. Does anyone want to have a guess as to how many alligators are in the state of Florida? 6? Good guess. More than 6, though. Any other guesses? 20? Getting closer. A little higher than that. Any other thoughts? 10,000? 100,000? Well, there are actually about 1 million alligators in the state of Florida. That is about 1 alligator for every 20 Floridians. Now, with so many alligators, your chances of seeing them in the wild are greatly increased. So all that we ask that you do is that you do not feed the gators. Seems pretty simple. Alligators are really smart. They're about as smart as your average household dog. Does anyone have a dog at home that likes to beg from the table? Yeah, I do too. And he weighs about 10 pounds. Can you imagine a 500-pound alligator coming to beg from your buffet table? And that's what happens when we hand food to alligators. They start associating humans with free handouts and come back to the same place over and over again. So the best thing we can do is if you are having a picnic or a barbecue, make sure you put your food away in a proper trash receptacle. That way, we can stay safe and so can the alligators. So what do you guys think about meeting Cypress, our American alligator? Yeah, big round of applause for that, guys. It's our state reptile. All right, do we have any brave members of the audience today? Raise your hand if you're feeling brave. All right, it's always the kids that seem to raise their hands. I love that. Well, at the end of the show, for you feeling brave, we'll give you a chance to touch Cypress on the tail. But we have a few more animals to meet first, so we're going to put Cypress away.
and we are going to travel to our next country. So I hope you guys packed your bags, because we're going to go all the way from Florida down to the land down under, the country and continent known as Australia, to meet our next guest. And this is the Australian wild dog. Any guesses as to what that might be? A dingo, very good, yep. Hold on to your babies, because here is Buckley, our Australian dingo. Our dingoes are predators out in Australia. They like to eat rats, so they help keep the rodent population under control, so that's very important. But you guys might not know this. Dingoes are not originally from Australia. Gasp, I know, I had the same reaction. But they are actually originally from Southeast Asia. They came over with the settlers on their boats and made themselves very comfortable out in Australia. And unfortunately, this did not come without consequences. There was another animal living in Australia at the time known as the Tasmanian tiger. Have any of you guys ever heard of Tasmanian tiger? You might not have, because unfortunately Tasmanian tiger is now extinct. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was competing for food with the dingo. So they became extinct in the 1930s, which is really sad. Now, we don't have dingoes here in Florida, but we do have other animals that were not originally found in our state that are making themselves quite at home in our Everglades. Are you guys familiar with the Burmese pythons?
Yeah.
Yes. We have a situation with Burmese pythons, and a lot of that could be traced back to people having them as pets and releasing them into the wild. So what we always recommend that you do, if you have an exotic pet that you cannot care for, don't release it into the wild. There are lots of rescues and sanctuaries that will be willing to take on your pet and make sure it gives you a good home. We also have what's called pet amnesty here in Florida, where you can surrender your pet, no questions asked, and they'll make sure it gets a good home as well. Now, of course, if you're looking into getting a pet, we always recommend a dog or a cat, but you could also think, if you are thinking about getting an exotic pet, just make sure that you do your research and really get to know how long that pet lives for and how big they get. So that way you're really prepared to have it for the rest of its life. So what do you guys think about Buckley, our Australian dingo? Big round of applause for him. Alright, well, we're going to travel away from Australia to our next land. I'm going to let Sarah tell you more about that.
That's right, we're going to head all the way over to Africa to meet a pretty iconic animal. Does anyone know what species this is? A porcupine! Animal experts out there, I love it. This is Priscilla, and Priscilla is called an African crested porcupine. So this is the largest species of porcupine in the entire world. Now, how many of you guys have heard that porcupines have the ability to shoot their quills? Now, everybody's nervous. Anybody fearing for my safety up here? Well, you don't have to fret. It is not true. It's an old wives' tale. They cannot shoot those quills. Those quills are just a hard version of hair, and just like we can't shoot the hair on the top of our head, even though that would be pretty awesome, porcupines can't do it either. But I will explain how they work. They're a really good defense mechanism for this animal. So on the quills here, there's a microscopic barb shaped like a little fishing hook on each one. When she gets nervous, let's say a lion approaches her, she has the same reaction that you guys probably get if a lion approached you. You get goosebumps and your hair would stand on end, terrifying. She has the same reaction. If the lion approaches her further, she will then run backwards as fast as she possibly can. She will thrust the back end of her body into the predator's face. Those barbs get lodged in the predator's skin. Quills fall out of her own skin, does not hurt her at all. And it's the impact between the quills and the skin that allow her quills to fall out, so there's actually no shooting. And it allows her to run away and make her great escape while the lion is left with a face full of quills. So does anybody want to hug our porcupine? No. Probably not. Usually the kids want to. Now there are a lot of these guys running around Africa, and while you might think that's really awesome to finally hear about an animal with a high population, it's unfortunately really bad for the environment. If you've noticed, Priscilla and her kind are pretty voracious eaters. They're eating themselves out of house and home, taking away food sources for other African animals like zebra and impala, and starting to move into farmers' crops and eating that as well. The reason why there's so many of these large rodents running around is because their main predators, cheetahs, leopards, and lions, those numbers have greatly reduced over the years. Unfortunately, it is mostly due to illegal poaching for those cats' fur. Now, there is a really delicate balance between predators and prey. As you can see, if one side tips to the other, not only affects the animals, it affects the entire ecosystem, all the way down to the plant life as well. So we can do a few things to help reverse that and make sure that there is equality in that African environment. if you are traveling to Africa, or even if you're shopping around, please don't go to any black market store. Don't go to blackmarket.com and try to buy some cat fur. We also ask, if you guys are out shopping, make sure that you just are not buying anything that has an animal product part of it. That does include bird feathers, porcupine quills, ivory, reptile skin. You don't know if it's harvested sustainably or even legally. Now, luckily, right now, we have this great thing called like faux products. A lot of fashionistas can't really tell the difference, so you can just tell them that it's real if you really want to. If not, you can also encourage them to buy fake products that look just like the real thing, and that way you're helping to save the environment as well. Now Priscilla's going to do a nice little twirl for you guys as she exits, and you're going to see underneath her beautiful skirt here that she has this nice stumpy tail. That tail actually has hollow quills, and when she's also nervous, she will rattle that tail, and it makes the same sound as a rattlesnake. And that's a good way to scare away your predators as well. All right. African crested porcupine. Yes, crested. Yes. All right. Well, we really hope you guys enjoyed meeting all of our animals today, and we inspired you guys to help out animals and do really easy things right at home that you guys can do to help out animals as well. We have one more mission that Koo is actually going to be helping you guys out today, and Taryn's going to tell you exactly what it is.
That's right. This bird might look a little familiar because we saw his brother Max flying in at the beginning of the show. This is Koo, and he wanted to help out as well. So Koo knows that we here at the zoo are a nonprofit organization, which means we rely heavily on donations from guests like yourself to fund our many conservation efforts. So if you'd like to help Koo help the zoo, one of the things you can do is step up at the end of the show, give him your dollar bill donations, and he'll make sure it goes into a safe place.
Also, at this time, if you'll build up the courage to meet our alligator, I will have the small alligator here at the base of the stairs. If you like to touch the gator, you may do so, but please only do so using 2 fingers. Only touch on the tail. After you're done touching on the tail, wash your hands off right over there. And please feel free to ask us any questions you guys may have about the show or how other things you can do to help out the environment. Thank you so much for coming to our show today, and of course, enjoy the rest of your day here at the Palm Beach Zoo.